Push it.
You didn't bring us all Red Bulls? I'm just gonna stare at that.
It's rude.
Good evening, Facebook, and welcome to our Ask Me Anything series. Ask Me Anything is a series for the Big Red 1 year family for us to interview Big Red 1 soldiers of families and veterans to share their personal experiences of building resiliency through our Army resources. My name is Christian Bishop, and I will be your host for tonight. Our guest is Jake Krueger. Jake is a military spouse of Captain Kasey Krueger of the General Advocacy General Corps. I said I was going to mess that up because I'm used to just saying JAG. This is his first duty station, and he will spend the next 30 to 45 minutes discussing and talking with you, the viewers, about different various topics and answering questions. So without further ado, please welcome Jake. Thank you, Jake, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Would you just go ahead and like to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your military spouse?
Yeah, so like you said, this is our first duty station. We got out here last year. Kasey finished up law school in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was there for work, and then we both ended up moving out here, middle of Kansas. Love it. Honestly, it's been a fantastic opportunity for us to come back to the Midwest. She's originally from the Chicago suburbs. I'm from Michigan. So overall, it's been a fantastic place. She's working now as a JAG. I work from home, so I get the opportunity to spend all my days spending with our dog and cats. So we have 2 dogs and 2 cats.
So lots of running in and out to let them out, right? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, a lot of pausing of the meetings. So luckily everybody else is understanding my company. Basically everybody I work with is virtual. So every once in a while you always see a cat jump on screen or a dog jump on screen as well.
Yeah, always fun times. So like mentioned, we will spend the next 30 to 45 minutes answering questions from you, the viewers. If by chance your question is not answered, please just check back in the feed for Jake's answers or for any resources. So let's go ahead and get started. You kind of mentioned, but how long have you been affiliated with the military? Understanding that this was Kasey's first duty station, so were you prior or anything?
No, I wasn't. So this is all brand new for both of us. We got the full opportunity. So right after we got married is when she just went ahead and went to her first area for training. So down into Georgia, and then I stayed in Raleigh. And so we got to experience everything full force of trying to move as separated. And so we got thrown right into the fire. But I'd say overall, everything's gone really well.
What do you say, since you guys came here in the COVID situation, probably what was the most hectic thing during COVID that you would say?
I mean, right off the bat, just not actually being able to see each other. So when she finished down in Georgia and went up to Charlottesville, Virginia, typically we've heard that families will go up there together, and so we had to continually do that apart. And so we got to experience that, and then coming out, things being a little more shut down, and so not being able to do as much in certain places. But luckily for us, we both like being outside a lot, and so take our dogs out for tons of walks. We like to explore different areas. And the great thing about Kansas is you're located right in the middle of the country. So it gives us tons of opportunities to drive to places that we probably wouldn't have done if we still were living in North Carolina.
So our first question is, I'm a military spouse, and other people, male military spouse, and other people constantly assume that I'm the service member. What is the best way that you kind of navigate the assumption that you are the military member and not Kasey?
So the way that I always deal with it, it makes me laugh every single time that happens, because I'd say right when we moved out here, our neighbors assumed right away, but I just tell them right away that nope, and I usually point to my wife. So it's just kind of a funny thing. I think we go into every situation or any places that we ever go, and that always happens, but just point to her. But she works with tons of other females too. So it's funny, at her office, everybody around there is a lot of females. And so it's just kind of funny to hear that stigma on there, but I kind of just laugh it off.
Most of the military spouses on post are women. As a military male spouse, what are some social groups or activities that I can be a part of to meet other male spouses? So
yeah, I would definitely recommend, there's some Facebook groups out there I'm in, whether it be all the spouses at Fort Riley, or also there's one of basically all the bases of just male military spouses. So branch out, I'd say go and search for different things of Facebook groups. I'd say get involved with any office activities. So Kasey's office does a ton of different barbecues and things like that. So I get out, try to meet the other spouses of other group there. Go to gyms, go to try it out, just get places by yourself, and just try to meet other males. There's a ton of them out there.
What does the typical Cougar weekend look like? And what are some favorite places you guys like to visit?
So depending on the season, we're probably going to go to a brewery. So we go to Manhattan Brewing a lot. We do tons of yard work. We're doing stuff around the house right now. We're taking the dogs for a walk. We like to travel. So we were talking about earlier, we went to South Dakota last year. We'll probably find another place to take them this year. Very similar, anywhere where we can kind of go. It's dog friendly. We can go out there, hike with them, walk around with them, enjoy the time with them, just being outside. We go kayaking. So we're looking forward to taking our kayaks up to the lake.
Awesome. And what is your favorite walking trail or park around here?
Ooh, there's a couple on post we've done. So I definitely recommend everybody use any of the spaces on post, because every time we go, we're like the only ones out there, so it's great. But we love to go up to Milford, go to Linear Trail. We've done that now. It's really nice. And so any of the greenway spaces.
What obstacles have you and your family had to overcome? And you kind of talked about it a little bit, being virtual in the COVID environment. And then how did that kind of make you guys a little bit more stronger and resilient?
Yeah, so going back to when we moved, everything that we did was virtual. So just setting up the date of our move, just trying to coordinate between them calling Kasey, then calling me, trying to figure out dates. So we had to navigate that. Buying a house, we got to do that virtually as well, and also while she was gone. And so a lot of those different things just really build up communication between us. And I think that's really how we approach anything that comes up on here. Every single day, we're talking, but obviously she's really busy. I'm really busy working too. So we spend a lot of the time at home then where we kind of just get to decompress with each other, talk a lot about the things that are going on. So whether it be your job, whether it be things that are coming up with military, especially when we were moving, just open, honest, kind of just talking about everything. Yeah. And so we can't be afraid to do that.
Awesome. My wife's unit is mostly male spouses. As a male spouse, how do you kind of navigate just that uneasy feeling and overcome that?
I'd say it just really goes back to that communication, just building up that trust. I think with any work situations that you go into, there's always going to be a balance one way or the other. And so as long as you have that open communication with your spouse, just talking to them and figuring out obviously what's going on, I always advise, say, get involved too. Go to the different events, meet the people. I feel if you probably do that, then you can probably feel a little bit better. But other than that, I'd say take advantage of any other resources. A chaplain, for example, go and talk to them and kind of navigate those courses together, and just really goes back to that communication, just kind of talking to each other and kind of, letting them know if you're uncomfortable and then figuring out a way to kind of solve that problem.
Thank you for that. My spouse is deployed, and I'm looking for work at home. What are some resources that I can utilize to find jobs that may fit my needs?
Yeah, I mean, geez, there's tons of good resources out there. I know, again, there's a bunch of different Facebook groups. I would say definitely search for, companies' relationships with military spouses. There's a ton of companies out there. I know mine included that they have certain programs where they will kind of guide you into resources that are available just for you. There's tons and tons of virtual opportunities out there. I'd say your LinkedIn, take advantage of that. You can find any company that's looking for virtual work. Also anything on post as well. I know for us, even around our neighborhood in Junction City, there's a lot of places that will offer virtual work, but they'll also offer later hours as well if you need to. So if you have kids and you say, hey, I can only work at night, I know, for example, like the Walmart next to us, they have hours at night. So they kind of work around everybody else's schedule, but I would say for sure, go out there and look at a lot of the resources.
Thank you. What did you hear about 1st Infantry Division when you before you arrived?
All I kept hearing about was bro, a lot of bro time, a lot of Big Red 1 opportunity things that are going on. For me, I'm a big history buff, so I kind of knew a little bit about storming the beaches, but I always laugh at the bro time, Big Red 1 patch, switching over to the red patch, so I think it's pretty cool.
How do you grapple kind of with the reality, especially with the environment right now, that your spouse could deploy?
Yeah. I mean, it just kind of goes back again to our communication. Once we first started dating even, I knew that she was going to be, going into the Army. So it's just something in the back of my head that I've always known is a possibility, and it's something that obviously I'm okay with. I always joke with her saying that, now, obviously, I don't want you to go away and be away from me, but I know that it's something that's going to happen. We've experienced that in a very smaller part when she was doing her training and I was living apart from her. Obviously, it sucks. You do as much as you can to text them, call them, FaceTime them. But really, with anything that's going on, we just talk to each other. So if there was a situation where it came up that she needed to go, obviously, I know she would call me right away, letting me know. And then we'd plan accordingly, figure out, what schedules are going to look like, what time that we can talk, figure out what we can do. I know that for me, when she was gone before, I sent a lot of Snapchat videos of our dogs and cats just to kind of give her the feeling of being at home again. So really anything that we can do like that to kind of just relate to each other, be like we're still at home with each other, but again, just goes back to that communication. I think as long as you're not like surprising your spouse or significant other with that information, that it's something that you guys can both tackle.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. What aspects of the military life do you enjoy the most, kind of looking on the outside?
Yeah. I think what I'm really excited about is the opportunities to move around, be in different places. Both of us met each other outside of our hometowns because we wanted to move. And so taking advantage of that, really going around to different parts of the country, we have a map that we scratch off different states. And so any places that we go, it's just a new opportunity to be able to kind of go and experience those. And so, after however many years, whenever she gets done and says, enough's enough,
yeah.
We can have a lot of places that we know that we like. And so we can always fall back to those different areas. So I think of it just as an opportunity for us to kind of explore, for us to kind of see new things, for family, take our dogs new places, whatever it may be. It's a brand new opportunity.
And if you could choose any duty station for Kasey, what would you choose?
I mean, I tell her all the time that Hawaii wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but I think that's about everybody. And I always joke that, if that so happens, because of the time change, I guess I would have to probably work at a surf shop.
Yeah.
But I'd say there, we keep wanting to kind of go a little bit further west. It's different places that we just haven't been yet. So anything like that, I mean, I'm really open to anywhere. And I know that she is as well. So any further west. We just were in North Carolina. So we're hoping that we don't do like the back and forth where we go North Carolina to Kansas, Kansas back to North Carolina.
And you kind of talked about your experience working from home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is a typical, like, I guess, teleworking from home look like? And also, how do you navigate the fact that your organization or your company is probably in a different time zone? So
yeah, for me, I mean, every single day, starting work at 8 o'clock. So we start our days at the exact same time, so it works out really well. But for me, I have tons of meetings. Luckily, we're face to face with a lot of different, a lot of people that I work with. So navigating that's pretty easy for us. For me, I've been essentially working remote for a lot of times. I've been in sales, and so it's nothing too crazy for me. But overall, I mean, it's a really great opportunity to be able to kind of move in different time zones, work in different time zones. I work with people all across the country, so all of us are in completely different time zones.
okay. Let's see. What? So let's just kind of talk about like your home to work aspect. You talked about your dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So this question did pop up, and I'm assuming it might be from one of Kasey's friends. The question is, can Kasey get another dog?
Yeah, so this comes up quite frequently. Right now, with our 2 dogs and 2 cats, I think we have a full house. We joke that we have a zoo. So I'm thinking at this point in time, we might have to hold off a little bit longer.
Awesome, thank you for that. And Kasey, you can always hold Jake to that. I am, so you said that you're not military. Have you had any history with the military prior? Were your parents serving or anything like that?
No, not my parents. Both of my grandfathers did. And so I've gotten to speak with them when I was a little bit younger. One of my grandmas, she's still alive. So I've talked to her quite a bit about the time when her husband was then deployed. So he was in World War II. So I got to hear some stories about them kind of moving around and their time in the military. So it's pretty cool to kind of be full circle and experience some of the things like that. Obviously, times are going to be a little bit different, but it's pretty cool to be able to talk to them and then be able to be in this situation now.
Do you think that I guess talking with your grandparents, being when they were serving, the military was mostly female. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like looking on the kind of now, is there kind of like a less of a stigma of female serving, or do you kind of still see like, maybe the frustration, or not saying that Kasey has frustration, but just kind of seeing like maybe there is still a stigma, or do you see that, as the military, we've kind of grown and just made the changes and everything?
Yeah, I think that military has grown a ton. I know the stigma is obviously still around. I'm sure a lot of different communities, feel that way, but I've definitely seen a huge amount of female presence everywhere that I go. Anywhere that I ever drive on post, anytime that I go, to the gym, if I go in the morning and see everybody in PT, I mean, the amount of females is pretty substantial. And so I'd say in the outside perspective, before we got involved with the Army, I would definitely probably had a different view. I probably would have said, well, it's probably mostly men, just like anybody would. But then once you come into the community and once you kind of see everybody working around, you realize that there is a huge amount. So I'd say the resources are definitely there. More and more females are taking advantage of being able to join. And so I think it's awesome.
And what are some of the resources that you have been able to use on Fort Riley that has kind of helped with your transition and everything?
Just being able to take advantage of going to the gyms on post, different areas on here. I know that we get to kind of go together, and it's kind of turned into something that's been really great for us. Obviously, we're busy all day long doing work virtually, and then obviously her being in the office. So having that chance to be able to kind of go and do that on post here makes it really easy for us living in Junction City. So it's just really easy drive for us both to be able to come in. We can go in any time of the day, whether it be during the week, on the weekends. We kind of take advantage of our time there.
Thank you for that. Let's take one more question from the audience. Do you think that, so have you guys talked about your long-term plan? Like, is Kasey going to do 20 years? Or is she thinking about a short amount of time? And how have you guys kind of navigated, you know, your 10-year plan and everything like that?
The way that we just always approach it with each other is I tell her, you know, as long as you're happy, keep going as much as possible. I understand that more years means more different places that we're going to end up, and so it can be a little chaotic, but we both have each other's backs on everything. We're both each other's best friends, biggest supporters. So I know that if I was changing jobs or anything, or if I was unhappy, that she would want me to do the same thing. So I've always told her, as long as you're happy, keep going. I know we've talked about it, and she wants to do 20 years, which I think is fantastic. And I tell her, do 20 or however long you want. If it was, you know, if it for some reason ended up where she got done with 4 years and didn't want to do it anymore, I'd completely support her. So I think that your happiness, no matter what you're doing, is going to be the best thing for me in any jobs that I've been in. That's how I've always felt, and that's what she always tells me too. So we've definitely talked about it. I think 20 years, I bet she's going to get to it.
Yeah. So is there anything parting that you'd kind of just like to say to our Facebook audience, you know, as just kind of some encouraging words? One, as a military spouse, and then two, just, you know, as a young couple being here.
Yeah.
So
I'd say overall, just take advantage of the area, the resources that are around here on post in Junction City and Manhattan. There's a ton of great places to go. We always joke that saying that Kansas, it's not that bad. Same thing for anything around here. I think that a lot of people kind of go into really any situation or hear that they're going to Manhattan, Kansas, and you know, the first thing you think of is that it's in the middle of nowhere. There's going to be nothing to do. And a lot of the different bases are in a lot of different cities that you probably have never heard of. But if you kind of go in with an open mind, make the most of it, take advantage of the different things around you, we've had a blast. And so I think that if we're going to go in this approach with anything, especially with being here and kind of tackling anything that the Army is going to throw at us, whether it be, you know, crazy moves, anything that might get tossed up in the air, or if she ends up deploying. I mean, you got to take it every single day together, figure out a plan together, and kind of just go from there. That's the most that we can ever do, is just take it one day at a time. If we expect too much, I think that that's when we just would get disappointed. And so just taking every single day and just being happy.
Well, I thank you again, Jake, for getting voluntold to do this today. And I would like to thank our Facebook audience for taking time tonight to listen to Jake share his experience of being a male military spouse. Again, if you guys have any questions that you guys think of now, please drop your comments in and we will get back to them. If you are interested in being a guest on this show, please reach out to the 1st Infantry Division Facebook page. You can see their email and contact phone number, and I would love to have you as a guest. So I would thank you guys again for joining us tonight for Ask Me Anything.